Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Tim's News Explosion on this Monday, the 28th of August, 2023. We are live on the Wilmsfront YouTube channel, the Wilmsfront Odyssey channel, and the Wilmsfront Rumble channel. Also, I've got Power Chats live, which I've put the link into the YouTube live chat where you can send through a direct donation with a message, and I'll read it out on the show. It is 9 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, a new start time. This is because I want to watch the 8 p.m. Australia First streams, which as had to be the case, both Australia First shows are not live tonight. Last week, they both were on at 8 o'clock. That is, there's the Groiper-aligned Australia First with Gabrielle Mare, and then there's the White Australia First with Michael Nelson. But they're both not on tonight. But from here on forward, Tim's News Explosion will be starting at 9 p.m. on a Monday, which is the same start time as The Theorists with myself and Andy Nolch on a Tuesday. So 9 p.m. is the new start time. The weather has been excellent, thankfully, here in Melbourne. Spring has arrived early, thankfully. It won't be too long until it's declared boiling. But let's start over in the United States with Donald Trump's mugshot of the century at the Fulton County Jail, which is we're told, a notorious prison with lots of really horrible prisoners there. That is Trump's mugshot, which you can now get on a mug and also on T-shirts. It has become a huge money earner for the Trump campaign. Already raised $7.1 billion, and Trump's 18 co-conspirators, there are some of their mugshots. So in the top left-hand corner is Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump's personal lawyer. Sidney Powell, remember, she is the lawyer who made the initial accusations against Smartmatic and Dominion voting systems, said she was going to release the Kraken, and she is in the top middle. And then on the top right is Mark Meadows, Donald Trump's former chief of staff. The one smiling is Jenna Ellis, another one of Trump's campaign team. I'm not sure if she's related to the Ellis family, which is an extension of the Bush family. And Ryan Fletcher, formerly of the XYZ, he immortalized Trump's mugshot in a cartoon of his own. I've always won, and I'm going to continue to win, and that's the way it is. And now Trump has surrendered himself to the Fulton County jail, or we should say courthouse, a day after the first US presidential Republican primary debate, which was broadcast on Fox News. And now Donald Trump, he didn't attend. He instead, well, it was pre-recorded, but it was aired on Tucker on X, his sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson, which went for around about an hour, and of course was classic Trump. One of the most memorable lines is that Crooked Joe is the only crooked now. Hillary's no longer crooked now. Well, she is obviously crooked, but Trump doesn't call her crooked Hillary anymore. It's Crooked Joe. And interestingly, we finally heard from the Ukrainian prosecutor that that Joe Biden demanded be fired unless he would be leaving Ukraine without giving that extra foreign aid. And now the US Congress want to interview this fired prosecutor, but he's going to be denied a visa to enter the United States. That is just, that strange coincidence there. That is, so strange there. Now, the Republican debate without Trump was pretty bland because you had all the cookie cutter, boring Republicans there. And now there was the usual put your hands up if you agree or disagree with this statement. But this was the most memorable from Brett Baer, one of the Fox News moderators, asking the candidates to raise their hands.
If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
Now, Vivek Ramaswamy, obviously, he was the candidate on the stage who said all the things that I like to hear and you like to hear, but that doesn't necessarily mean he should be trusted if he was ever to become president to implement those. The hip hop artist Anomaly, who does political commentary on his YouTube and Instagram, has done not really a deep dive, but just told Vivek's backstory, that he got a George-funded Soros scholarship to go to university and made his money in big pharma. He has made contradictory statements in the past. Obviously, I'd love to see Ronald Rand Paul heading the Federal Reserve, but would he be the type of person, type of president who would keep his words? Like, mention it now that he mentioned Ron and Rand Paul, I would be, if one of those two was ever lucky to become president, they would fulfill all of their promises. They would take on the deep state ferociously. Well, they'd abolish most of the deep states there. But obviously, Trump, he appointed horrible people to his cabinet that undermined him, such as John Bolton, who criticized his mugshot for really stupid reasons. Trump, he let the deep state get to him too many times, and maybe Vivek would as well. But he was the least worst candidate on stage. One of the worst was, of course, Nikki Haley, and she really got triggered when Vivek Ramaswamy said he would cut off aid to Ukraine and Israel.
I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki.
Israel needs America. America needs Israel. Okay.
America needs Israel. I've never heard that one before. Why does America need Israel? And so neocon Nikki, she was very triggered. Oh, you're abandoning our allies by not giving them taxpayer money. I mean, this is the thing. The United States writes checks to nearly every nation on the world. That's why it's called the American Empire. I mean, shouldn't taxes paid by American citizens go to funding Americans and actual American defenses, not the defenses of foreign nations? But Nikki Haley got worse. She had the cringe woman line.
Hold on. Governor Haley, would you like to respond? Are you bought and paid for?
What I would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Nick Fuentes had the best reaction. Shut the fuck up, bitch. And the Babylon Bee, they put out Nikki Haley's new presidential campaign slogan, I am woman. So inspiring, said local woman Alice Reasons. I think Nikki really hit on what sets her apart from the other candidates. According to campaign sources, Ms. Haley plans to build her messaging going forward around the reality she's in fact a woman. I don't know if anyone has noticed this yet, but I am female. It's true, folks. I have 2 X chromosomes and everything. I'm someone who can give birth to children. I am woman. When asked exactly how being a woman made her the best candidate to be president, Miss Haley reminded the audience that she is a woman. This must be the slow class. Let me explain again. I am an adult human female. I do not have a Y chromosome, and my grip strength is terrible. I, Nikki Haley, am a woman. At publishing time, a confused Mac Walsh has called Nikki to see if he could ask her a few questions. I'm pretty sure that Nikki Haley could give a straight answer to the question, what is a woman? Now, after the Republican presidential debate, there was a race hate mass shooting in Jacksonville, Florida. This killer, Ryan Palmeter, 21 years old, he shot a woman in the car park near a what's called a general dollar store, and then shot 2 men inside the store. He killed 3 black people before turning the gun on himself. And so it is where we were told that he chose a deliberately black neighborhood. This is what one of the police officials said, because his manifesto was released immediately after the shooting.
These manifestos detail the shooter's disgusting ideology of hate. Plainly put, this shooting was racially motivated, and he hated black people. He wanted to kill niggers. That's the one and only time I'll use that word. I want to be very clear that there is absolutely no evidence that the shooter is part of any large group. We know that he acted completely alone.
Now, because this happened in Florida, there has been the usual people saying, oh, this is the type of hateful environment that Ron DeSantis as governor has fostered. Ron DeSantis released a video condemning the racist shooter. But this occurred last week. A former Florida state trooper, Travis Ikeguchi, fatally shot Laura Carleton. This was in Los Angeles during a heated dispute over a pride flag. And according to his social media accounts on X and on Gab, his posts were filled with bigoted anti-LGBT posts and posts showing an intense hatred for law enforcement long before he murdered Carleton. So yes, he was a Florida Highway Patrol state trooper, to be specific, and a firearms and active shooting instructor. And one of his tweets had a burning LGBT flag. So another product of Ron DeSantis's Florida. Now, this is 2 in 1 week hate killings there. So I'm sure that they're just coincidences, nothing to see here. Also, it's a coincidence that there's that new COVID variant with 36 mutations, BA 2.A6 Parola. That's in addition to the Aries variant, which is EG1. But don't worry, US citizens. You'll have to put your masks back on, of course, but Joe Biden has got super good boosters that he wants you all to take.
Mr. President, can you say anything about the uptick of COVID cases and new variant?
Yes, I can. Matter of fact, I signed off this morning on a proposal we have to present to the Congress a request for additional funding for new vaccine that is necessary, that works. And tentatively, not decided finally yet, tentatively, it is recommended that, will likely be recommended that everybody get it, no matter whether they got it before or not.
So all the shots before these latest shots didn't work, but this one is definitely going to work. And what does he mean? Everyone is going to be asked to get it. Is there going to be mandates again? Dawn Browning has said, we got his manifesto, the Jacksonville killer, but we can't get the mentally ill chicks manifesto. That's the trans man shooter at that school in Tennessee. Yes, we still haven't got that biological woman's manifesto. And now the new director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Mandy Cohen, she has also released a statement on this new variant.
The CDC is closely tracking a new variant, which does have a number of changes or mutations that do make it distinct and different from the older versions of the virus. So we're working as fast as we can to understand this new variant and what impact it might have on how severe the COVID disease will get or how well our vaccines work against it. So this is one where you're going to need to stay tuned and check back for more information soon.
Yes, stay tuned. Dawn Browning says, Pfizer stocks down all summer. Yes, they definitely are down. And as Ron Nielsen says, yes, Dawn, and so is Moderna's. Yes, they've got their updated XBB variant vaccines, but we don't know if these work against BA 2.86. And now there is more mask mandates being rolled out in the US at colleges and hospitals. Are they really going to go back and expel people for not wearing a mask when they're walking through the corridors? Though, thankfully, back in Australia, we continue to roll back mask mandates. So last week, the New South Wales Health Minister, Ryan Park, part of the new Minns Labor government, removed mask mandates in hospitals, and he was praised for this by the New South Wales, ACT and Queensland Secretary of the Health Services Union, Jared Hayes. He said that health workers across the country have upheld the highest standards to keep our community safe during COVID. Long after most had returned to business as usual, HSU members have been observing strict prevention and control measures in health settings and while providing care in the community, putting patient safety ahead of your own comfort. Yesterday, the Ministry of Health advised that they had reviewed the current alert level under the New South Wales IPAC framework for respiratory and COVID safe healthcare. On Wednesday, 30th of August, they'll transition from yellow to foundational level. This main change involved that New South Wales staff will no longer be required to wear masks in all clinical and patient-facing areas. This is a significant moment and marks a point in time when we can take pride in HSU members' extraordinary work while remembering the difficulty and trauma that COVID has meant for so many. This revised alert level doesn't mean that we abandon commitment for members of the community, nor does it mean you can't continue to protect safe shelf when it's feel necessary. Now, Jared Hayes since 2022 has said that we need to get back to normal. He's one of the most sane union leaders in the country. So he's actually happy that his union members don't have to wear masks anymore. Bruce Kibbe says, well, maybe I can see a doctor now. While there are still a lot of clinics who have their own mask mandates. Remember, even though it's been proven that masks don't stop respiratory viruses, well, it's been basically the old evidence has come back again with the Cochrane review that said mask mandates masks haven't been proven to stop COVID transmission. They work on mannequins in a lab, but not in real life, which is the main thing. But here in Australia, well, at least until after the voice referendum, the summer fear or PSYOP that some will call it is going to be the global boiling bushfires. This is the CEO of the National Council for Fire and Emergency Services, Rob Webb talking about this summer.
We're often asked at this time of the year, will it be as bad as Black Summer? But the strong retort is it doesn't need to be a Black Summer to be dangerous, and it just makes common sense for people to be prepared, to spend the time now to sit down with families and have a plan. We don't need any reminders given what's happened in the Northern Hemisphere, whether it be Greece, whether it be Canada, where we've had 700 Australian firefighters and other specialists over there, and of course the tragic conditions in Hawaii recently that beg a belief. So that the strong message from all of these leaders will be that plan and prepare.
Yes, those fires in Greece, which have been lit by at least 79 accused arsonists. That is extraordinary. 79 arrested for arson, which have claimed the lives of 20 people this week, which has pushed the nation into a state of emergency. Civil Protector Minister Valisis Kalisis called the arrested arsonist scum and accused them of endangering the lives of citizens and the nation's natural treasures. And also Spain is dealing with arsonists. I remember that during Black Summer, a then Liberal Senator Conchetta Fierravanti-Wells, she wanted arsonists who were arrested, she wanted the authorities to investigate whether they had links to any climate action or environmental groups. And Lady of Charlotte says, wait until they get cracking here this summer. Will they actually catch them here in Australia, these arsonists? Now, of course, there's been the fact checkers who say, the fact that a lot of these fires are deliberately lit doesn't disprove that warmer temperatures will cause more bushfires. Well, proper backburning will largely prevent bushfires. That you can prevent bushfires that way with properly backburning, but obviously there is not, for some reason, not all backburning is done, maybe deliberately for some nefarious reason. So we shall see what happens this summer, and if there are large bushfires, it should thoroughly be investigated what the cause is of those fires. Obviously, the first blame will be global boiling. Though I clearly remember last Black Summer that these especially these kids who start bushfires, they don't realize that it's super hot and that their fires are going to run away much more than they normally would in pre-climate change time. Now it's time for the voice update. Now, Anthony Albanese on Wednesday will officially announce the referendum day. It is all but certain to be Saturday, October the 14th, the same day as the New Zealand general election. So myself and Dewey DeBoer, we are going to be resurrecting Trad Tasman Talk for a Super Saturday special covering both the New Zealand general election result and the Australian Voice referendum result. We will be starting at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. It will be then, which is 7 p.m. New Zealand time. That's when the polls close in New Zealand. And we will have a rotating panel throughout the night covering both results. Hopefully both results go the way that we are hoping to. Now, we heard from the Australian Electoral Commissioner, Tom Rogers, last week. He was interviewed on Sky News. Now, a lot of us probably weren't actually thinking about what the referendum ballot paper will look like, but it is going to be just one box, which it's which asks you, this is going to be the proposed change to the Constitution, and you have to, and it asks you, do you approve of the proposed alteration? You have to write either yes in English if you agree, or no in English if you agree. But the Electoral Commissioner, Tom Rogers, said this.
The Australian Electoral Commission has confirmed that ticking the box on the referendum ballot paper rather than writing yes could count as a yes vote, but crosses won't be counted. The revelation by Commissioner Tom Rogers on Sky News prompted an outcry among some voters who say accepting ticks but not crosses could favour the yes campaign.
Please make sure you write on that box yes or no in English. Now, there are some savings provisions, but I need to be very clear with people. When we look at that, it is likely that a tick will be accepted as a formal vote for yes, but a cross will not be accepted as a formal vote.
The Electoral Commission confirmed today that while not all ticks will be accepted, all crosses will be deemed informal. Ultimately, the Commission says it will be up to the Divisional Returning Officer at each ballot place to decide if a tick has made a voter's intentions clear.
Does that effectively inflate the yes side? The no side might say, well, hang on, it's a lower bar for the yes side?
No, not at all, and they couldn't be taken that way, but that's why we're spending a lot of time talking to the community about what constitutes a valid vote. There'll be very clear information on the ballot paper in the polling place. We're spending a lot of time on that issue, and what we're trying to do is to make sure under the legislation that when the voter's intent is clear, that those votes are included.
Doesn't Tom Rogers, the Electoral Commissioner, look like a clone of Anthony Albanese? I mean, same head shape, same hair, and same sort of glasses. Now, no Australian under 40 will have voted in a constitutional referendum, but probably over a majority of Australians would have, the last public vote they would have participated in would have been the Australian Marriage Law Postal Survey in 2017, though that was run by the Australian Bureau of Statistics. And you will remember, if you voted in it, that, well, this was the question: should the law be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry? So there is a yes box and a no box, and you mark the box that, well, you want to vote for. So if you want to vote yes to that, then you tick or cross yes. Well, you have to mark one box clearly, and if you vote no, then you tick or cross or whatever. Pretty clear there. And this is how New Zealand frames its referendum questions. There's a yes box and a no box, but in an Australian constitutional referendum, there's only one box. Is anyone already confused about this? And so, yeah, you have to physically write yes in English or no in English. And Lady of Shalott says, what if they can't write English? This is Australia after all. Now, Tom Rogers has said that the reason they're counting a tick as a yes is because of the savings provision where a voter intention is clear. So if they write yes in or no in Chinese or some other language, or they vote Y or N, then clearly their intention is clear. I know that Chris O'Keefe on 2GB asked one of the electoral commissioners, not Tom Rogers, what if you vote hell no or no way, will that still count? And he said, I'm not going to go through every hypothetical, but they are pretty explicit on ticks and crosses. Now, Peter Dutton, the opposition leader, said that Anthony Albanese from day one has tried to rig this by allowing tax deductibility for the yes side, but not the no side. And obviously got a national cabinet to sign a document. He's got all the states and territories on side, including the sole remaining Tasmanian Liberal government, the last Liberal government in Tasmania. Now, apparently the reason why we can only have one box is because, according to Anthony Green, the ABC's election analyst, that in a 1991 New South Wales referendum held in conjunction with a state election, there was 9% informal voting because there was a yes and a no box. But that was 32 years ago. I mean, as I said, last constitutional referendum was 1999, and we're having this vote on its own. And Peter Dutton said, look, there's still time to change the legislation, that there could be a yes box and a no box, make it much clearer. I mean, is a lot of people confused here? I've tried to explain it to many people, and they are so confused. And on most forms, questions, you're given either to click or tick a yes or a no box. There's hardly any ever form where you actually have to physically write yes or no. So to make sure that I give you the correct information, if you, assume everyone in this audience wants to vote no. If you want to vote no, you write N-O in that box, no, in English. So, and also Peter Dutton, he has asked the AEC for the legal advice about why they accept ticks but not crosses. If you put a cross there, it'll be an invalid vote and will not count. And now Anthony Albanese, this week, he is going to be announcing the referendum date at a grassroots community rally in South Australia, which is seen as a swing state for the referendum, because we sort of have an electoral college system when it comes to referendums with a double majority. 4 out of 6 states needed for a double majority, so it needs to be over 50% nationally, and 4 out of 6 states. So the Yes campaign think that New South Wales, Victoria, and Tasmania will get over the line, and so they need one more state, and they reckon South Australia. Now, Anthony Albanese, of course, he has got all of the major corporations on side. And remember, outgoing Qantas CEO Alan Joyce has put the Yes campaign logo on Qantas planes. And it's just by coincidence, Anthony Albanese's government has blocked one of Qantas's rivals, Qatari Airways, from allowing it an extra 28 direct flights into Sydney every week, which would have increased competition, lower airfares, because airfares are sky high at the moment. Pardon the pun. Qantas has got record profits. Remember, it got JobKeeper bailouts during COVID. But I'm sure it's just a coincidence that Alan Joyce has put the Yes logo on the plane. It's not related to the Qatari Airways denial application. And same with the AFL. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that the AFL said they were supporting the Yes campaign after Anthony Albanese provided $240 million for the Hobart Stadium for the Tasmanian team, another $65 million for the upgrade of York Park. I'm sure it's a coincidence. I'm also sure it's a coincidence that Anthony Albanese, his son, got membership of the Qantas Chairman's Lounge, which of course is even more prestigious than the Qantas Club. Nearly every politician is given automatic membership of the Chairman's Lounge. I'm surprised it's still called the Chairman's Lounge. Shouldn't it be the the Captain's Lounge? Shouldn't be the Chairman's Lounge. Still very gendered. And Anthony Albanese yesterday he was talking about how much he loved mining, and of course doesn't want to shut down the mining industry in the energy transition. Well, going to need to dig all those minerals out of the ground to build those wind turbines and solar panels. We're going to need to mine more. Anthony Albanese at a press conference was wearing a Rio Tinto branded shirt with his own name on it. It was made especially for him. Rio Tinto, again, is supporting The Voice, though that's probably they feel guilty for blowing up those sacred Aboriginal caves in 2017 by accident, which of course set in motion the process for those disastrous Aboriginal cultural heritage laws in Western Australia, which have now thankfully been ditched. And now it is it's no, there's no doubt in all of our minds here that if this voice gets up, then there is going to be Australians who claim Indigenous identity will get extra rights, and even they already have extra rights and special treatment. And there was another appalling example of a light sentence being dished out in Victoria, of course, in our Curie courts. We've covered previously that woman who killed a grandfather and blamed it on 4 Africans. She was out on 4 count of bail, had a suspended learner's permit, but she was only given she'd only been given 2.5 years, could be out in 6 months, because she had recently reconnected with her Aboriginal ancestry. Of course, she looked very pale and had blonde hair. You remember the didgeridoo attack at the 2022 Dreamtime at the G match, where one of the performers, unprovoked, attacked a man with a didgeridoo. Well, there has been an outcome in the Curie court, and again, it is grossly inadequate.
Good evening. A performer who bashed a footy fan with a didgeridoo outside the MCG has been sentenced to less than 10 months jail. Jesse Gardner fractured the man's skull and eye socket, but his victim's family say they haven't seen any remorse. Court reporter Penelope Leash.
Bruised, bleeding, but still alive. Daniel Arado's family will never escape the pain suffered after a night at the footy.
We're lucky we're coming here today and not the cemetery, because that's how close it was with Daniel.
Jesse Gardner was hired to take part in Dreamtime at the G last May, but instead performed outside the ground. After the match, he went after Daniel, bashing him with a didgeridoo in what police called an unprovoked attack.
That was the Indigenous night. Daniel went there to support them, and he got bashed by someone who he went to support.
But during the hearing in the Curie court, Gardner claimed another man was being racially abused.
Daniel's the quietest guy. He would have been the last person there at that football on that Saturday night that wanted to cop this.
The court heard Daniel needed 6 months to recover from a fractured skull and eye socket, bleeding on the brain and a broken nose. He couldn't work and had to have multiple operations. He and his family are traumatised.
It's been very hard for myself, my daughter and my little grandson, who loves him to bits.
Jesse Gardner telling Daniel's loved ones, "I am extremely sorry and do regret what I've done. I hope he doesn't have to keep going through it the rest of his life."
Instead of looking us in the eye, he chose to look down at the floor. So that to me doesn't show he has remorse. It's just something he's saying because he has to.
Well, on bail, Gardner hit another man over the head with an extendable baton inside the Albion Hotel here in Dandenong. The magistrate calling his offending utterly disgraceful, saying it's lucky he didn't kill one of his victims.
He's a bad person. Even the judge said, like, you're a violent person. He's violent.
Gardner, who's become a cultural advisor inside prison, will serve another 2.5 months before being released on a community corrections order. The magistrate and elders will assess his progress. Little comfort for Daniel's family.
You're a liar. You nearly killed my grandson.
Penelope Leash, 9 News.
Yeah, so he'll be out in 2.5 months because he's, a cultural advisor in prison, and apparently he's going to be supervised by elders in his community corrections order. But you just saw in that report, he already while on bail, attacked somebody else. And even if he did hear a racial slur in that crowd, that is no excuse for physical violence. Verbal violence is not real, and it doesn't justify verbal violence. Though there is a man being charged for hurty words towards Lidia Thorpe, the now independent senator. This broke on Friday afternoon.
A man's been charged by federal police over allegedly making threats towards Senator Lidia Thorpe. He'll face court in September for his alleged role in creating and publishing an offensive video online, which included threats of violence against the outspoken politician. The maximum penalty is 5 years in jail.
Now, this relates to the Warriors for the Convict Resistance Australia Day video in 2022, where they burnt an Aboriginal flag. And in the background on the fence were these two signs. One was Lidia Thorpe, Abo Hor, and smallpox, with the dots there for smallpox. Now, the reason why there is that smallpox sign is because the British settlers brought with them smallpox, which decimated the Aboriginal population because it was a newly introduced disease which they had no immunity to. So there was no threats of violence against Lidia Thorpe in that video, unless she interprets being called an Abo Hor as a threat of violence. Now, Australian Meditations, he has outed himself as the man charged. He has written on his Telegram channel, and I quote, he calls her Lidia Thorpe, complains about a video where she was called an Abo Hor on a poster. The Australian Federal Police told her the video is not illegal. She bitches and moans as usual, so the AFP clutch at straws to get me on the most ridiculous charge, using a carriage service to offend, which is a federal offence. Despite it is only offence, the media and the AFP are claiming that the video contains violent threats. Now this is going to court, all because she felt offended, and the AFP and the media are over-embellishing the severity of the situation while also supporting the biggest anti-white Abo Hor in Australia. They are doing this to add to the far-right extremism hysteria in order to justify more repressive laws, and also to impress their Abo-loving Jew bosses in Canberra to justify more funding. End of quote. So he will appear at the Melbourne Magistrates Court in mid-September. If anyone can look up the exact date for me, I will confirm that, because it will be, you will be able to view if you can't make it to the Melbourne Magistrates Court, you will be able to view a live stream of that court proceeding. It probably won't be dealt there on the day. There's all of these mentions. It's the 20th of September. So there's always a link on the daily court listings there. But Lidia Thorpe, she has threatened a man in public outside that strip club. Remember, she said to one of the white men outside that strip club, which she got banned from, "You are marked." And we all know that she hangs out with bikies. When bikies say "you are marked," I mean, it's pretty clear what they say. I mean, it could have easily been interpreted by that man who received it as a threat. How come she's not being charged for that as well? And of course, Lidia Thorpe, well, her rap sheet is huge. We don't remember she had to be physically restrained by the Australian Federal Police that she's running to over this when she approached Kelly J. Keane at the Let Women Speak event in Canberra. Kelly J. Keane, she is now suing the Victoria Liberal Parliamentary Party team for defamation over the Let Women Speak Melbourne event, by the way. And also Lidia Thorpe, she claimed that that her carry-on luggage being being overweight and needed to be checked. She claimed she was racially profiled, and and so she this was by Virgin Airways. So she claimed, yes, it was a racist luggage scales. So she now only flies Qantas, and of course she has a chairman's lounge membership as well. Also, during the Queen's the day of mourning for the Queen, she dipped her hand in red blood, and the Australian flag was burnt at that rally. But the all hell breaks loose when what's not even the Aboriginal flag; it's the Aboriginal rights flag that was designed by Harold Thomas in 1971, which the Australian government has bought as the official Aboriginal flag. So Lidia Thorpe, she has been very aggressive and made what some people would consider threats to people in the past. And so this will be very interesting to see, given that it is so flimsy and she's an elected politician. I mean, you should be allowed to call politicians that you don't like names. It's not a direct threat of violence, Lidia Thorpe Abahor. You can claim that it's offensive, but it is certainly not a threat of violence, which is what the media has reported. But this law at a federal level shouldn't exist, using a carriage service to offend, because offense is so objective and it carries a maximum of 5 years in prison. It's very rarely used unless basically they want to make an example of somebody hurting the feelings of a prominent person. Brucey Kibitz says, damn, I'm 7 minutes back, internet terrible again. I hope it's not my internet. I've still been having internet trouble. Now, going back to, I mentioned the Victorian Parliamentary Leadership Team. They are heralding a new dawn because the Liberals retained the seat of Warrandyte at a by-election on Saturday. Now, the Labor Party did not contest because they probably knew that they were not going to do well. So the Liberal candidate, Nicole Werner, she got a 10% swing on primary, and so won on primary, 57.4%. The Greens came second with 18.6% primary. The two-party preferred was 71% to the Liberals and 29% to the Greens, a 16.8% swing there. So yes, this is a massive shot in the arm for John Pesciuto's leadership. He is still fighting the defamation lawsuit brought against by Maura Deeming, who he expelled from the Parliamentary Liberal team, or got her expelled on the second attempt after she attended the Let Women Speak event in Melbourne, where the National Socialist Network turned up. But of course, things aren't going well for Dan Andrews as well. There is now 2 inquiries into Dan's cancelling of the Commonwealth Games and giving $380 million of Victorian taxpayers' money to the Commonwealth Games Federation in compensation to not put on the games. So the federal inquiry kicked off today. Former Sports Minister Martin Bakula is now retired. He testified. Now, those ministers and former ministers who are going to be appearing are being directed to say cabinet in confidence. And remember that it seems like Dan Andrews got written into that joint statement that, we can't comment on the settlement because of, it's commercial in confidence, that type of bullshit that governments always use. And also, Dan Andrews, it's looking like it's a bit harder for him to make Will Fowles, his own MP, who he kicked out of the Victorian Liberal Victorian Labor parliamentary team. Will Fowles appeared before a branch meeting of the Labor Party in Ringwood, and he defended himself. And he said, it's important that my local members hear directly from me what has occurred in recent weeks. That characterization may not be entirely accurate, but it's true. I already expressed my dissatisfaction with my treatment, given the police have received no complaint. There is no investigation. I've been provided with no further detail. My focus is now solely on my work with my constituents and my responsibilities to my family. Sent a legal note to Dan Andrews saying that he had a right to the presumption of innocence, and but Dan Andrews deemed the complaint. So it says here that Mr. Andrews has been scathing Mr. Fowles in recent week and said it was not unacceptable for him to remain a member of the Parliamentary Labor Party. He has also judged the complaint made by Mr. Fowles as credible and commented on the safety of staff. And now, it apparently didn't occur in Parliament House, but in a hotel in the CBD. And interesting, after Will Fowles made that legal note and also that appearance at the Labor branch meeting, Victoria Police are all of a sudden investigating. And this was in the Herald Sun, that at a meeting of Labor's female caucus last week, Daniel Andrews and other senior figures are understood to have addressed a sleazy culture in Parliament. So there is one senior minister reportedly told colleagues, I'm sorry if this is uncomfortable and I hate to point out the elephant in the room, but we know some of you are sleeping with your staff and it's a misuse of power. All the young women are coming out. Some are internally reporting it. Others are boasting about it. There is a cultural issue within the party. It's one of these things they've turned a blind eye. Senior Labor figures said women were now speaking about the cultural issue after allegations of sexual assault were levied at Labor MP Will Fowles. Last year, Dustin Hale, who Mr. Fowles replaced, resigned after being embroiled in his own parliamentary sex scandal, accused of having sex in his parliamentary office. So there is currently, if we go further down here, there are 3 MPs who are allegedly sleeping with staff members. One MP is understood to have been repeatedly put on notice about his behaviour, with another warned over his drinking and sexual exploits within the Parliament. Remember, this is the feminist government of Dan Andrews that brags about equal representation in the cabinet of men and women, even though Dan probably can't define a woman. He defines women that he doesn't like as that person. And, the internal Labor Party hasn't even been cleaned up, despite the intervention after the Adam Somyurek branch stacking sting by Nick McKenzie on 60 Minutes in 2020. So Dan Andrews kicked Somyurek out immediately, but he is standing up for his factional ally, Lily D'Ambrosio, who in a Layla South branch, 2 dead people were on the Labor Party membership roles for 2 years. But John Thwaites, the former Labor Deputy Premier, his internal probe said that they couldn't identify who had these dead people as members and who forged their signatures. Just like Dan couldn't, it could never be found out who was responsible for hiring the hotel quarantine guards that slept with returning travellers, which of course spread COVID during the second wave in Melbourne, which led to Dan Andrews implementing what was then the world's strictest lockdown. And also a number of unions, the building industry group, they have put out a joint statement. The Electrical Trades Union, the CFMEU Victoria, the Metal Workers Union, and the Plumbers Union, they are threatening to ban Dan Andrews and his ministers from doing press conferences on their own big build project for doing a quid pro quo with the Animal Justice Party to ban duck hunting next year. I mean, good on these unions for standing up for their members' rights for outdoor recreation. It says here that they work hard and are entitled to outdoor recreation, and we support their right to protest for their to maintain their outdoor recreation rights there. Obviously, these unions didn't stand up to the Dan Andrews government when it came to the COVID vaccine mandates, but at least it's sort of the culture clash between the new progressive Labor inner city elite class and the old working class that used to support Labor. Now, Lady of Charlotte in the chat has said, did you see the clip of Julia Gillard being unable to say what a woman is? Worst PM ever, and that's really saying something. Australian Against the Agenda made a video of it. Yes, I will play that for you now. Julia Gillard was asked what she termed a gotcha question, but it is a really simple question. And, well, this is just the first part of Julia Gillard attempting to answer, what is a woman?
We'll have the next question here. But please get ready on this side of the room. I'm going to start swapping back.
Hello, my name is Biddy O'Loughlin. Thank you for holding this event. What is a woman? And do you agree with Queensland's Attorney General Minister for Women, Sharon Fentiman, that trans women are women, and with the UK's leader of the Labor Party, Sir Keir Starmer, that some women have a penis?
Look, I'm very happy to answer your question, but I do worry that, and I should just say, I spend around half of each year in the UK. And in the UK, this has turned into a kind of got-you parlour game. So if you're listening to the radio, you literally, there'll be some person on there from London City Council who's trying to tell you why the traffic's not going to flow well that day. And the journo will be saying, and can you tell me what a woman is? To try and create these gotcha moments. And I think we've just got to move away from all of that and just come at this once again from first principles and say to ourselves, we as a community are full of people with diverse stories and diverse life experiences. Amongst that rich diversity, which as Francis says is powerful, there are a number of people who genuinely believe that they are trapped in the wrong body and they want to be recognised as the gender that their mind and soul have for always told them that they are. And that doesn't go one way, it goes both ways. People who have transitioned from being men to being women and women who have transitioned to being men. And I think we've just got to say, like we'd want to show everybody else in the community, love, inclusion and respect, we should do that.
Senator Slayer says, everybody be careful what you say about Gillard. You don't want to get charged for offending her. You remember when she was Prime Minister, any criticism of her was misogyny. I remember Tony Abbott was called a misogynist for looking at his watch, and remember there was all that mass hysteria over that signs at the anti-carbon tax rally that said Julia Gillard, Bob Brown's bitch, ditch the witch. But even though she is recognised as Australia's first female Prime Minister, she can't define what a woman is. Now, she said she'd answer the question. That's 2 minutes of waffling. Let's see how she does, because it went on for a bit longer here. This is part 2.
As the gender that their mind and soul have for always told them that they are. And that doesn't go one way, it goes both ways. People who have transitioned from being men to being women and women who have transitioned to being men. And I think we've just got to say, like we'd want to show everybody else in the community, love, inclusion and respect, we should do that for each of those individuals. And then there are a set of issues that need to be thought through about prison arrangements, about fairness in elite sport, those sorts of things that we're up to thinking about and working through if we try and do it inclusively. And, you know, most people in their lives won't end up playing elite sport. Most people in their lives won't end up in prison. Most people in their lives will encounter at some point someone who is a transsexual person, and I think what really counts is the openness and the spirit of inclusion about the way that you encounter them. And I, having certainly met and known, appeared on stage with transsexual women, believe that part of that inclusion is referring to them the way they want to be referred to, using the pronouns that they want to have used about them. I would seek to do that in that circumstance. I would seek to do it when I was meeting someone from a ethnically diverse background. If there was a particular way that they wanted to be referred to have their ethnicity referred to, then I would adopt that way, and so the list goes on. And I think if we can do all of that, we can kind of take the temperature out of this. And I think the temperature is being created for political reasons often, not because it's inherent in the discussion.
Next question.
Now, even Julie Gillard's transport minister, now Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, even he can give a straight 3-word answer to the question, what is a woman? Adult human female. Yet she waffled for 4 minutes and didn't answer the question. I mean, it's extraordinary to watch there. And as Pete Osman said, she's just giving a woke sermon now. She was also Australia's first atheist prime minister, yet she's basically describing, what is it, mind and soul gender, basically a new religion there. I mean, and now I still think that Rudd was worse. I mean, I remember I was so grateful that Julie Gillard, when she was deposed by Rudd, we don't have to hear about misogyny anymore, but then Rudd was his usual absolutely annoying, pretentious self, and remembered why I hated Rudd so much. And now he is over in representing us in the US now, but he was back in Australia for the unveiling of his parliamentary photo. Now, staying on the woman question. Now, there has been another real life Miss Man teacher. If you remember Miss Man from the Scary Movie original, who was keeping talking to Cindy Campbell about we all have our little secrets, and appeared obsessed with sniffing women's panties, and said to Cindy Campbell, take off your bra if you like. So this high school in Pennsylvania, Gettysburg Area High School, this is from the TERF website Redux, they are considering reinstating this transgender speaker, transgender teacher, I should say, Sasha Yates, born David. So she was suspended for alleged because she was subject of complaint after, and they use the biological pronouns here on Redux. He frequented the girls' locker rooms and bathrooms on several occasions. 2 separate incidents in September of 2022 involving Yates undressing in the girls' locker room. And it also says that shortly after Yates began identifying as female using women's facilities, he stripped down to bra and panties in the girls' locker room where the teen soccer team was changing, and also allegedly asked them about their bra and panties. absolutely gross there. So yes, another real life Miss Man. That movie from 2000, that comedy movie, is now becoming a documentary. Now back to Australian politics, specifically New South Wales politics. So there was the breakup of Pauline Hanson and Mark Latham. Mark Latham and Rod Roberts have quit the One Nation Party. Mark Latham tabled a letter in the New South Wales Legislative Council alleging the party tried to funnel money from the New South Wales Electoral Commission and into using the funds for party merchandise. He said, in September 2021, I was alerted to a problem in the management of New South Wales One Nation. The letter reads, payments from the New South Wales Electoral Commission administration fund have been redirected to the party's Brisbane office, where in turn they'd been used to purchase conveyor belts and other fixed equipment and Pauline Hanson's One Nation merchandise. Now, Pauline Hanson rejects these allegations of misappropriation. She put out two statements, and she says that the reason why there was this takeover of the New South Wales executive was because of the poor showing in the 2023 New South Wales state election. And she says she utterly rejects the allegations made by individuals on the protection of parliamentary privilege, and said that the party's finances in both New South Wales and nationally were subjected to regular audits by chartered accountants in New South Wales and Australia Electoral Commission. And she also put out another statement where she said, bring on the investigation, and have called on Mark Latham and Rod Roberts to resign from Parliament when One Nation was exonerated. I'm confident One Nation's finances are in order and in compliance. We will happily cooperate with any investigation or inquiry. It is not our integrity that is in question. So this is incredibly sad for the cause of Australian nationalism. But Mark Latham, it's been he was pretty clear when he joined One Nation that he wanted the party to be a civic nationalist party. Remember, in the 2023 state election, he had a lot of Indian candidates and volunteers, but didn't translate into votes. That was quite a flop there. We don't know whether Mark Latham or Rod Roberts will form a party of their own. Mark Latham is in the New South Wales Upper House for another 8 years, Rod Roberts for another 4 years. But yes, this is quite the mess. Senator Slater said, when did this happen, lol? I missed the whole story. It happened last week. Now let's go over to the UK, where the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, obviously wanting to become more unpopular, is proceeding with his ultra low emission zone expansion. And he can't understand why there is such opposition to ULEZ, and said it's part of the people who are criticizing him are part of the same conspiracy theorists who were against COVID lockdowns.
I didn't expect for there to be, people linking my policies to clean up the air with conspiracy theories. I did expect people to have genuine concerns, and I've been listening to those genuine concerns. I didn't expect, this to be weaponized by others who you and I have exchanged with, who didn't believe COVID was real, believed in conspiracy theories, and so forth. So the challenge I have is to listen to, and I will always listen to Londoners. I will always try and address genuine concerns Londoners have, but I have been surprised how they've been latched onto by.
And now, meanwhile, the ULEZ Blade Runners, those what would you call them, vigilantes, continue to take down the ULEZ cameras all around London. This was the latest, well, you could sort of say Batman type type citizen captured. Now, the Daily Mail has reported that in southeast London, 9 out of 10 ULEZ cameras have been vandalised, with just 29 out of 185 still operational in Sydenham, 4 intact in Bromley, and just 1 working on the whole of A225. I don't know geography of southeast London that well, but I'm sure the Brits in my chat will know where that is. Lady of Shalott states here that he will never be voted out. All the immigrants vote for him in London. He is facing a mayoral election next year. Well, he doesn't like that there's so many whites in London. This was quite overt, this anti-whiteism. So this is from the Daily Skeptic. Official guidelines reveal anti-white racism of Sadiq Khan's branding campaign. So the Mayor of London has been urged to apologise after official guidelines said such a photo should not be used when promoting Khan or Greater London Authority. This photo of a white family. The picture of a mother and father with their son and daughter beside the Thames appeared in Lookbook Mayor of London brand guidelines that was published on the official City Hall website. It was captioned, "Doesn't represent real Londoners." The guidelines give advice on showing the mayor on the best light and say official photos should reflect a recognisable and real and diverse London. The document was taken down after its contents were highlighted on the Mail on Sunday. An official for the mayor said the photo caption was added by a staff member in error. Oh, of course it was an error, and doesn't reflect the view of the mayor or Greater London Authority. The document is being reviewed to ensure language and guidance is appropriate. Susan Hall, the Tory candidate to be mayor, called for an apology. She said all Londoners are real Londoners, no matter their ethnicity, and Sadiq Khan needs to apologise and stop these desperate, politically motivated attempts to divide the people. And so in case you need reminding, the 22-1 census showed that London, that 46.2% of residents identified with Asian, Black, mixed or other ethnic groups, while British residents accounted for 36.8% of the population, with a further 70% saying they were white ethnic minorities. So yes, Sadiq Khan, he is cleaning up the air and cleaning out the white people, it seems. Now, even though the FIFA Women's World Cup ended last Sunday, there is still the fallout from Kissgate, because in a passionate affectionate display of joy, the head of the Spanish FA, Luis Rubiales, he has been suspended by FIFA for 90 days while they investigate his kiss on the lips of one of the winning players. I'll make sure that I get the players. So it is, which player did he kiss? Jennifer Hermoso is who he kissed. So even though she said, she didn't mind it at the time, they're friends. Then she said she didn't like it, and now there is almost the entire Spanish women's squad is now boycotting the team. The manager, who the players revolted against before the World Cup, has said he should stand down. He believes that the head of the Spanish FA, he's the victim of a feminist witch hunt. Of course, the SJW politicians in Spain have piled on. Now, Spain, it's one of the romance nations, along with Portugal, Italy, and France. They are much more affectionate there, which includes can include kiss on the lips as well in the Latin countries, which have Spanish and Portuguese heritage. They are also very affectionate nations. But this happened in England. The winning jockey in male jockey in one of the races, Sean Currane, he was he was in the moment after winning kissed on the lips by the female owner, Jolene. So how come she's not going to be destroyed and not going to be kicked out of racing in England? I mean, yes, it was probably a bit too much, but he got carried away at the moment. They were friends. I wouldn't like to be suddenly kissed on the lips, but maybe if it was like, but who knows, in those joyous moments, somebody could go a bit nuts and do something like that for you. The women in the chat say if there was just an insane moment of joy, would you hold it against a man if he kissed you on the lips and he wasn't your husband? Let me know in the chat. Larrikin, they want his job replaced with a woman. Now, also, there has been the freak plane crash accident of the former Wagner group chief, Yevgeny Brzezinski, who of course led that failed coup against Vladimir Putin. He died in a plane crash. It's just a freak accident, like when JFK Jr. died in a plane crash when he was challenging Hillary Clinton for the Democrat nomination to be in the U.S. Senate. So yes, that was big news this past week, and also India being the first nation to land on the south pole of the moon. Now, if you are a Sydney-sider, there is quite an interesting event coming up in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, the 12th of September at 6 p.m. at the Sydney Mechanic School of Arts, a roundtable forum, Mass Immigration and the Nation State. So Professor Gigi Foster, who's been a guest on Wilmsfront, a behavioural economist, will be on the panel. Dr. Frank Salter, social technologies. He has been a One Nation supporter. He may have been a member in the past, so he's been around for many years as a nationalist advocate. And Dr. Jane O'Sullivan from Sustainable Population Australia. I haven't heard of her, but she would certainly be interesting to hear from there. So if you're in Sydney, would be like an interesting event. So you go to westernheritage.org.au. Now, I'll be live with Andy Nolch tomorrow night for The Theorist, 9 p.m. Melbourne time on the Theorist YouTube channel. I will put the Theorist's link into the YouTube chat, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure, if you haven't already subscribed to all the Unshackled channels, including the Wilmsfront channel, always click the bell to allow notifications, and any video you watch, give a like, thumbs up, and comment below, because it all helps with the algorithm. And remember, if you want to support the Unshackled Productions and our work, but don't want to send through a super chat, you can take out a premium membership at theunshackled.net/membership. Bronze $5 per month, silver $10 per month, gold $25 per month, platinum $50 per month. Lady of Charlotte says, pronunciation of Russian names is not Tim's strong point. This is not the I mispronounce all names, even English names. I can mispronounce from time to time. It's something that I'm well known for and often am mocked for. Thank you, everyone, for watching tonight and your contributions. I will see you all tomorrow night for the theorists. Make sure you stay safe, stay sane. Make sure that you stay not too cold and not too hot, because, well, in Melbourne the weather's improving, but it's still very cold at night time as well. Tomorrow night on The Theorists, we'll be discussing more about dodgy Dan Andrews, including, well, there is another untruth uncovered about what he was doing before his wife, Kath, hit that teenage cyclist in 2013. So we'll be discussing that tomorrow night. And also one of Joe Biden's interesting tweets about being laser focused on the Hawaiian Islands fire recovery. But that's tomorrow night. Good night, everybody. Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.